After a tense and dramatic race at the Jerez GP, a surprising statement from MotoGP legend Casey Stoner has caught the attention of many. In his comments, Stoner made an unexpected assessment of Marc Marquez's performance, especially after the Spaniard's impressive ride on the Ducati Desmacedesi GP25. With his extraordinary experience and track record, what exactly led Stoner to make such a striking and controversial comment regarding Marquez's future in this most prestigious of racing events? Let's discuss it. The Jerez GP was indeed a story full of surprises. Francesco "Pecco" Bagnaia arrived as the favorite, carrying the status of two-time world champion and the mainstay of the Ducati factory team. But when the lights went out, the spotlight was on Marc Marquez. Marquez came out fierce on the front row, challenging everyone in front of him. However, an incident caused him to crash. For most riders that would be the end of the story. But for Marc, it was the start of another legendary story. With a damaged GP25 and a suboptimal technical performance, Marquez returned to the track and finished the race in 12th place, an extraordinary achievement considering the context. At the same time, Pecco was struggling. He was unable to overtake Fabio Quartararo and lost out to Marc's younger brother, Alex Marquez, who only rode the GP24 last season. MotoGP legend Casey Stoner witnessed Marc Marquez turn the Ducati Desmacedesi GP25 into a deadly weapon on track. With the keen eye of a world champion, Stoner judged that Marquez's extraordinary performance was not only the result of the technical superiority of the bike, but also the figure of the rider riding it. Technically, the bike still has a lot of shortcomings, said Stoner bluntly. Without Marc Marquez, the Desmacedesi GP25 is no better than the old version. What makes the GP25 look terrible is not the engine, but who is on the bike. And that is Marc Marquez, he said without hesitation. Stoner couldn't help but point out the stark contrast in the Ducati paddock. He noted that two-time world champion Francesco Bagnaia is still struggling to understand the character of the GP25. Meanwhile, Alex Marquez has had his best results on last year's version of the bike. It's clear. It's not the bike, it's the guy on it that makes the difference, said Stoner, expressing an opinion that may be uncomfortable for some but is full of truth. He said that Marc Marquez has a rare ability that few other riders possess, the ability to read the character of a bike, identify its weaknesses, and instinctively adjust his riding style to compensate for those deficiencies. That's what I used to do on the Honda, he added, recalling his glory days. But what impressed Stoner most was not just Marquez's raw speed, but his fighting mentality. More than just being fast, Marc is a real fighter, he said with admiration. In Stoner's eyes, Ducati now had what they had been looking for, a rider who could turn a less-than-perfect bike into a winning weapon. Ducati now have a rider who can cover up any shortcomings of his bike with an almost unrivaled natural talent, Stoner concluded confidently, as if to emphasize the point. The presence of Marc Marquez has not only changed Ducati, but the MotoGP landscape itself. Ducati general manager Gigi Dall'Igna could hardly contain his disappointment after the results in Jerez. Ducati's big target, which had been prepared with great hope, now ended in disappointment. The great hopes placed in Pecco Bagnaia seemed to evaporate. Pecco did not live up to expectations, said Dall'Igna, expressing his deep disappointment. Instead of appearing dominant after Marc Marquez's crash, Pecco seemed passive in the middle of the competition. There was no aggression, no initiative, he added, describing his dissatisfaction with Pecco's performance, which seemed less than biting. Although Pecco's third place on the podium mathematically gave him extra points, Dall'Igna considered the result a setback in terms of mentality. Mentally, it was not the victory we were expecting, he said. However, Dall'Igna did not hesitate to pay tribute to Marc Marquez. Despite the accident and the state of his bike, which was badly damaged, Marc showed an extraordinary fighting spirit, trying to keep going and finish the race. It was not easy. And Marc did it just to touch the finish line, said Dall'Igna with full appreciation. Alberto Puig, the man who witnessed Marc Marquez's long journey at Repsol Honda, now speaks with empathy and admiration. As a former team manager who understands Marc's deepest side, Puig believes that the 2025 season is not just about competition, it is about honor, courage, and self-confidence. For me, what Marc has done this season, regardless of the final result, is already an extraordinary emotional victory, said Puig in an exclusive interview with GP1. If he manages to become world champion, it will not only be a sporting achievement. It will be one of the most moving comeback stories in the long history of MotoGP. Puig recalled the darkest moments of Marc's career, when his arm was broken repeatedly, when he lost almost all his strength, both physically and mentally. The world saw a wounded warrior, but Puig knows that it is not just a rider who has come back, but a man who refuses to be defeated by fate. Marc is not fighting with his best physical strength now. His body is not what it used to be. But he is still standing, challenging the world with even greater determination than before. This is the essence of a champion's mentality, to fight not for the title, but for his own dignity, he said. Andrea Dovizioso, who once fought a tough battle against Marc Marquez during Honda's golden era, now sees the psychological pressure being put on Francesco Bagnaia, the rider he once accompanied at Ducati. According to Dovi, Pecco is now at a critical point, trapped under Marc's shadow, which is getting bigger and harder to escape. Honestly, Pecco doesn't seem to run with the freedom he used to. There is a weight that seems to be dragging him down, said Dovi in his statement. The pressure is not only from the expectations of the team or the public. The pressure is from Marc Marquez, who is now not only a rival on the track, but also a garage mate who shows his dominance more and more every week. According to Dovi, Marc's superiority is not only about his skills on the bike, but also about his ability to read and adapt to every characteristic of the bike in a very short time. This makes the atmosphere of the Ducati garage a stressful place for Pecco. Marc can understand the bike immediately, even if the conditions are far from ideal. He adapts very quickly. And now, together with Alex Marquez's performance, which is also improving, Pecco seems to be surrounded from two sides, he explained. Dovizioso stressed that this situation could be very dangerous from a psychological point of view. If Pecco does not immediately find his composure and free himself from the internal pressure, not only will his chances of winning the World Championship be threatened. He could lose the leadership position he has held at Ducati, both on the track and within the team. Michel Pirro, Ducati's main test rider who has completed thousands of laps on various versions of the Desmosedici, is still amazed by Marc Marquez's performance. Not just for his speed, but for the way he understands the bike, even in technical conditions that are far from perfect. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. But I saw the telemetry data myself, said Pirro, still in a state of surprise. Marc was riding a bike that wasn't intact. There was a pretty serious mechanical problem. But his lap speed was still close to Pecco's. It was crazy. It didn't make any sense. According to Pirro, Marc's specialty lies in his very keen racing instincts and his ability to communicate with the bike as if they were one body. He doesn't just rely on physical strength or the team's technical strategy, but really feels the bike in every corner, every change in traction, and every technical symptom. He reads the bike faster than anyone else. Even when others need 2 or 3 sessions to understand the setup changes, Marc only needs a few laps. He knows what to do without saying much, added Pirro. This extraordinary ability has forced many Ducati engineers, including Pirro himself, to revise their understanding of the bike's limits. What's even more surprising is that Marc has done this while still adapting to the GP25. This opens up an undeniable fact. If Marc Marquez continues to develop like this, he can take Ducati to a level they haven't even imagined yet. Is it Pecco Bagnaia, the world champion who is starting to lose his way? Or Marc Marquez, the warrior who inspires the team and the public with his indomitable spirit? Write your opinion.